Welcome to this series of videos in which we will show you how to create custom pages and controls for your Essence portal using ASP.NET and C#. In this video, we will show you how to create a custom search screen. For that, I cleaned up the mypage.aspx we used in the previous videos so we can make a fresh start here. Okay. The first thing we need to do in our page itself is create a simple form. So we are going to use a table for that with a simple row. And on the first row, we will put in an ASP text box. Let's call it TB name. The runat will be server, so we can access the control from our code behind. Also, we will add an ASP button here. Let's call that one button search. And the runat again is server. And the text for the button text is search. And let's add an onClick event. Visual Studio will suggest button search underscore click, and let's keep that. And that will create the onClick function here in our code behind. Let's refresh the page. Oh, sorry, forgot one thing here. When I went to the code behind to show you the function there, I forgot to close this tag here. So let's refresh the page. And this is what it looks like, a simple text box and a search button. That's all for what we have now. Okay, we want to show the results here, and to display a list, you can use the Asp Repeater. It's a control that you can use for simple or complex lists, and let me show you what's in it. Let's call this one RPT organizations. Runat is server. Now, the repeater control consists of a header template. So what should only be displayed once at the top. So let's put the table there. Then you have the item template. This will be shown for each item in the results. So that would be our table row. And the repeater also has a footer item, and that will be displayed only once at the bottom of the repeater. So here is where we close our table. Okay, let's put a header row, and we'll put that in the header template, so it's only once. And we put on name and city on top of our list. And in the item template, we will do the same columns, of course. So here we're going to put in an ASP label called label name. Runat will be server because we're going to set the value from code later on. And just to see where it is on the screen, let's add the text triple dots. We do the same with another ASP label. We'll call that one label city. The runat will also be server, and the text will also be our triple dots. So that's just pure reference. We're going to replace that later on. So how does this look on screen? Well, it doesn't look any different because we haven't have any data in our repeater yet. So let's do that. Here we're going to create a function and that function will get organizations for us. So get organizations, and here's the function itself. Let's see. The wrong brackets there. Okay, that's better. Okay, and we have a code snippet for you also on our website, and let me show you what will be done with that. Okay, we call that get organizations from our onClick event, and now we are going to fill that function. Okay, the first thing we need to do, just the same as with creating data, is we need that business controller. Okay, it's the same snippet that we used in the previous video. I have it here in a notepad file, and I will explain after I copied the function here. It's also on our product blog, by the way. So we are going to instantiate the business controller with the name organization, and that's what's happening here. And once we have that, we can do all kinds of different things with it. Okay, once we have the business controller here, we are going to create a search entity. We make a kind of model for what we are about to search. So that will be another region here, and let's paste that in here. Okay, and as you can see, we are going to create a search business entity, and for that you have to be using silver.businessentities. So I included that one here on the top, so I have access to silver.businessentities. Okay, in the first line, I am going to create that search entity, and that's done by this line of code. And once we have the search entity, I'm going to assign some values to it. The property name I'm looking for comes from our text box TB name. And it's a text box, so I'm going to set the operator for the search to contains. We don't want to search for exactly the name, but we're going to look for any organization with the input in that name. Okay, now we have our search entity. So the next thing we can do is get all the entities, get the results for that search entity. For that, we are going to create a silver business entity list, and that's a list of entities that match the criteria that we set in our search properties. So here we are calling for that silver business entity list, and here we execute the GetEntities. GetEntities will get you the results according to the search properties that we have assigned to it. Also, the default search properties are also assigned here. So we have the silver business entity list, and we use it to get the data. So we have a business entity list, and we are going to do the last step here. We are going to bind that silver business entity list to our repeater control. So the data source for my repeater is that silver business entity list. And once the data source is set, I can call the data bind. And this will execute and bind the list to the control. Those are the 4 steps you need to perform in any search. Instantiate the business controller, make a search entity, set the search values, and then get the results and bind them to the screen. So let's refresh the page here, and let's click the select button, and there we will see there are 4 rows here. You can see that by the dots, and they correspond with the 4 rows we have here, and we have the name and city header. And if we put in a value, only 1 row will be left here in our results. Okay, we have the results in our repeater, but the repeater itself does not show the data yet. And that's because we have to add another event here to the repeater on item data bound. This event is executed once the data from our business entity list is bounded to the repeater. And let's put that function up here. And we are going to add some code here as well in our repeater. And I have that code here for you. And again, check it on our product blog. And I will paste that in here and I will explain it to you. So first we are going to check if the row that is in the data bound is an item or an alternating item. So that's odd and even rows. So only the item template we need to do the magic. We don't need to do that in the footer template, and we don't need to do that in the header template. We only need to do that in the item template. The item template also contains the label name and the label city. And those labels, we get them from the repeater item, and we assign them to 2 new labels here in the code behind, because each label in each row gets its unique ID. Then we get the silver business entity from the repeater item. We put in a list of silver business entities. So for each row in the results, we have 1 complete business entity. And using that business entity in this row, we can now assign those values, just like we did in the search or the create. We can assign values to our silver business entity properties here. And in this case, we are going to get the values from our business entity properties and assign them to our label.text. So that's what we do here, and there the values of that row are applied. Okay, let's refresh the page, and we are going to search, and once we click the search button, our list will appear And here we see name and city of Cloudbusters, the organization we were looking for. Okay, let's get back to the code here, because what if you want this list to appear directly when the screen opens? So let's do that here. We have that get organizations function here, and what we are going to do, if it's not a postback, so the page is called for the first time, then we're going to execute that function also. So now if I go to this page, it will directly display the results, and from there I can enter a value and search for a different value. So that's the way to create a simple search. You instantiate the business controller, you make the search entity, assign the search values, and then get the results and bind them to the repeater control. And once you bind them, don't forget the item data bound for the values.